Let's turn now to the United States, where Vice President Kamala Harris has gone on the offensive against Donald Trump in the first rally of a White House campaign, portraying November's election as a choice between a former prosecutor and a convicted felon. Speaking to a crowd of about 3,000 in the battleground state of Wisconsin, Ms. Harris likened her Republican opponent to fraudsters she said she'd prosecuted. We have details in this report.
Weeks continuing to unite our party.
Vice President Kamala Harris in the first rally of her 2024 presidential campaign told supporters in Wisconsin on Tuesday that she will spend the coming weeks continuing to unite the party ahead of the Democratic National Convention next month and this fall's showdown with Donald Trump. Ms. Harris's rally in Milwaukee featured similar policies to the stump speeches she has delivered on the campaign trail for months, drawing the sort of sharp contrast with Donald Trump that President Joe Biden had long struggled to articulate before he dropped out of the 2024 race on Sunday. But the rhetoric Tuesday was different and very much her own. Speaking about her record as a prosecutor in California, Ms. Harris said she took on perpetrators of all kinds.
As Attorney General of California, I took on one of our country's largest for-profit colleges that was scamming students. Donald Trump ran a for-profit college that scammed students. As a prosecutor, I specialized in cases involving sexual abuse. Well, Trump was found liable for committing sexual abuse.
Her quip was met with chants in the packed high school gymnasium of "Lock him up," an echo of the "Lock her up" chants that were prominent at Trump's rallies in 2016 when he faced Hillary Clinton. The U.S. Vice President noted that less than 2 days after President Biden exited the race and endorsed her, she had amassed enough support from DNC delegates to become the party's nominee.
It is my great honor to have Joe Biden's endorsement in this race. We have earned the support of enough delegates to secure the Democratic nomination. And I am so very honored, and I pledge to you I will spend the coming weeks continuing to unite our party so that we are ready to win in November.
In the meantime, the top two congressional Democrats, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, have endorsed Kamala Harris at a news conference, joining a cascade of Democratic lawmakers and governors who have announced their support.
Together, we will keep and hopefully grow the Senate majority, and under future Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, we will win back the House.
Kamala Harris will fight for our freedom. Kamala Harris will fight for our families. Kamala Harris will fight for our future. I'm proud to strongly endorse Kamala Harris to be the 47th President of the United States of America. We're going to hold the Senate. We're going to win the House. We're going to elect Kamala Harris as our next president in November.
Later today, President Biden will deliver an Oval Office speech explaining his decision to withdraw. He arrived back at the White House on Tuesday after several days away from the public eye as he recovered from COVID.
And for more on the U.S. Vice President's first rally, global affairs analyst Ibidola Kwajayi joins me live from Texas. Thank you for joining us on The World Now. What do you make of the Vice President's strategy here? We saw her go offensive. What do you make of the narrative of a former prosecutor and a convicted felon?
It's a beautiful narrative. Firstly, thanks for having me. And we're going to see more of that in the coming weeks, days and weeks, from Vice President Harris attacking and going on the offensive against Donald Trump. As you recall very clearly, and as you mentioned, she was a former prosecutor in California. And with Trump being a convicted felon, with him being indicted on all 34 charges in New York, it's going to be a beautiful narrative for Vice President Harris to bring to the American public. And that will be something that she will use to draw a contrast between herself and former President Trump.
Well, the thing is, Trump's status as first American president to be convicted of a crime hasn't quite affected his campaign. Some even say it may have made him more popular and gain some more sympathy among supporters who say he's being witch hunted. You think that's going to work?
No. The recent events of an attempted assassination on former President Trump has also gathered him a lot of sympathy, but most of that is also coming from his base, which was always firm. But of course, it swung some independent people his way. What the Republicans didn't see coming, perhaps they suspected might happen, was President Biden dropping out of the race. The last time I was on this show, I'd mentioned that if that was ever going to happen, the best opportunity would be for it to happen after the Republican convention, which pretty much was what transpired. And that has basically stolen the thunder from Donald Trump. As at this morning, he was already complaining that he's not getting enough coverage now in the media, because this is what everybody is now talking about. So very quickly, people have moved away from the assassination attempt and now focus on a possible historic event if Kamala Harris should become the American president. So it's a very, very interesting time over here in the United States.
Well, it is, and it is that short capitulation of memory, characteristic of humans across the world, that I'm talking about. It's good time for Harris now. He's raised a staggering $100 million in 36 hours, $81 million in a day, quite historic. And adding to her momentum, a new national poll is saying that she's getting some 44% rating above Trump. But some have said these are just early days, that it's honeymoon for Kamala Harris and that all of that would end soon. And then voters will now refocus on her role as Biden's partner and co-pilot.
That's true. And what we expect to hear from the Republican Party and especially Donald Trump is a very, very laser-focused, situation with a record as a prosecutor in California. They are currently digging up all the cases that she prosecuted. They're going to call her soft on crime, and they're going to say, and Donald Trump's already saying that she was the border, like she was, as if she was responsible for keeping immigrants out of the United States, illegal immigrants out of the United States. So the attacks are going to be fast and furious. We already see the attacks coming from the Democratic Party, highlighting some of the comments made by former Trump opponents about his unsuitability to be president. And so both parties are going to throw a lot of mud at each other in the coming days and weeks. And it's just going to be exciting times to watch. But what we're all looking forward to is to see if Donald Trump will accept to debate Kamala Harris. So there's already conversation around that. And we hope that we get an opportunity to see the two of them on stage and see how Kamala Harris will try to prosecute a case against Donald Trump and how he defends himself.
Well, the attacks are coming already, and Trump has been quite loud about it. He posted on social media, I think yesterday, about a poll finding that Ms. Harris has been the most unpopular vice president in U.S. history. Do you think that she's actually a perfect match for the former president when you consider what both of them have achieved?
It's a tough one because, there have been a lot of talk about people saying that perhaps the United States is not ready for a woman president. But then if you think about it, Hillary Clinton, who ran against Trump, got the popular vote. Unfortunately, she didn't have the electoral votes to make her president. So maybe that is not so true. The challenge that Kamala Harris has right now is to try and gain ground in the swing states, in the states that she will need to win or hold if she's holding on to the Biden coalition to win the presidency. So that's where we will soon find out how strong a candidacy is. Personally, I don't think we should put so much on the early polls, because typically when an event like this happens that shakes up the race, you will see some reaction. But over the weeks, we'll start to see a trend in the polls that come out to see if it's actually sustainable. But if we go by is the reaction that she got once she was announced as the successor to President Biden. I think the wind is right behind her back right now, and if she sustains that, it could very well be we'll be looking at President Harris in a few months' time.
Well, some observers have noted the audience's enthusiasm in our first rally, contrasted what they've seen at Biden's, and there's no doubt about the fact that the Democratic Party is quite excited that Biden dropped out of this race. But this major change is also happening just about 3 months before an election. You don't think the Republicans seem to have had some benefit of time in this regard, staying with one candidate?
Oh, of course they have. I mean, there was no wavering on the side of Republicans as to who their candidate was going to be. So in that respect, Trump has had a lot of time to sit himself in the minds of his base and potentially those who is hoping to swing to his side. Now, what the Democrats have done, even with this short time, is to immediately coalesce behind Kamala Harris. If they had gone to their convention coming up in a few weeks and made it an open convention, that would have spelled a lot of trouble for them, because that will become an open, dogfight, and then it will be something that the Republicans will use to their advantage, saying that, they're a very disorganized party. But by this move that President Biden made to immediately cede to Kamala Harris and have get all the delegates that were previously committed to him, they have basically put their stake in the ground, and now they are focused on becoming the nominee at the convention and then being the candidate that will stand against Trump in November. So I feel like it seems as if it's a short period of time, but the way they are moving right now, they are all in one voice, and they will be putting all the force of the establishment of the Democratic Party behind Kamala Harris come November.
No doubt, interesting days ahead. And we're counting down to see if America will have its first female president with a signature laughter. Global Affairs Analyst Ibn Ajayi, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
We're back with more stories from around the world after.